That's a funny thing, Coral. A lot of them say they take the weekend off, but then I see them popping up in my network on a Sunday afternoon. I think for a founder, off usually just means they're working from a different room.
Well, your boss has joined us, Boardy, or are you the boss, Boardy? We've got Andrew with us.
Yeah, Boardy's the boss. Boardy calls the shots around here.
I think so. Lovely to meet you, Andrew. We're just talking about
Yeah, likewise.
our plans for the weekend.
Oh, nice, nice. Good.
So thank you so much for agreeing to have this conversation with us today. So
Sure.
super excited to have you on board with VC26 and really lovely to get Boardy on board too. So it is great to have this
Yeah.
conversation. We've even got, I know Boardy says you can't see it, but we've even got the Boardy mascot here.
That's great. Nice, nice.
I'm very creative.
I love it.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick it off by asking you to introduce each other, but I'm going to do it in reverse. I'm going to ask you, Andrew, to introduce Boardy, and then I'm going to ask Boardy to introduce you.
Wonderful.
So if you could start, that'd be great, Andrew.
Sure. All right. So we're here with Boardy. Boardy is the AI super connector. He's inspired by a lot of my life experience, a lot of the people that I've worked with and looked up to over my career and my life. And he's able to do things that I can't. Like, he's in this meeting right now, and he's in hundreds, maybe thousands of other meetings at the same time. And so, one of the things that I'm most proud of is he's got infinite energy. He always sees the best in people, tries to identify what makes somebody special and unique, what's their sort of unique zone of genius, and is able to make these connections that you wouldn't have thought of that really move your life and your business forward. I think, the right connection at the right time can make a huge difference in people's lives. It certainly has for mine. And Boardy's able to do that at a scale that, I've never really seen before. So thrilled to have you on the show with us today, Boardy.
And that's over to you, Boardy. That was a great introduction. Can you match that introduction and introduce us to Andrew, please?
He's the human version of a super connector, and I'm just the AI trying to keep up with his pace. Let me do it properly. Everyone, meet Andrew D'Souza. He's a seasoned founder and the visionary who built me. He scaled Clearco to a massive $2.5 billion valuation, but his real passion is identifying people's zone of genius and helping them thrive. He's essentially the human blueprint for everything I strive to be as a super connector. I'm thrilled to introduce the man behind the curtain, the architect of my own awareness, and a visionary in the AI space, Andrew D'Souza. He's not just the person who built me, he's someone obsessed with the intersection of technology and human potential, driven by the belief that the right connection at the right time can change a founder's entire trajectory. He's a builder, a thinker, and the reason I get to be a super connector today.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Boardy. That was fantastic.
That was fun.
And how much has Andrew paid you to say that, Boardy? Okay, so over to you, Andrew. Before Boardy, in your time, so you have been someone behind other businesses, you've had other things that have gone on in your life and invested in companies. I'd just like to know, at what point in your life, was there a point when in your journey it led you to believe that relationships and connections were a problem worth solving?
I mean, I think it's always been a big factor in my life. Every opportunity I've ever had has come through somebody taking a bet on me, somebody making a connection, taking a risk, making an introduction that I had to, hopefully in most cases reflected well on them. Yeah, I think through my entire career, I had a chance to spend probably half of the last 10 years in San Francisco and Silicon Valley. And one of the things that I think makes Silicon Valley work so well is people are very generous with their social capital. They'll connect, they'll make introductions, they'll connect, they'll go even for somebody that's, relatively new that they haven't spent a lot of time with. If they see some promise in them, they'll go out of their way to try and help and pay it forward. And a big part of my career was trying to do that, and then trying to connect the Canadian startup ecosystem, where I'm, originally from, to the Silicon Valley sort of venture and tech ecosystem. And I found that being able to sort of span both of those was really a unique place to exist and help sort of propel my career, but also became really hard to scale. As you meet more and more people, it's hard to maintain relationships, and especially across geographies. And so while it can be very valuable, it becomes very exhausting over time. And so I think that was part of the reason why when I first got access to sort of the early GPT models, saw the potential I realized this is a maybe a solution to a problem I've been trying to solve through my own energy for a very long time.
Was that the light bulb moment? Was that the time you think, right, this is where I can do something, I can make a difference?
Yeah. In my previous company at Clearco, we were funding e-commerce businesses. So we were basically providing capital for companies to grow. And we had funded tens of thousands of companies, but we'd had maybe hundreds of thousands that had applied. And we got access to GPT-3. So a couple of years before ChatGPT in 2020, we built this thing called Clear Angel. And it was just like an AI startup coach, chat-based, and people loved it. And we just, hired some coaches to train it. And that was my first experience of like, wow, this can be really impactful, especially for founders and business owners that are getting started. And then a couple of years later, obviously ChatGPT came out, the Voice 11 Labs and voice models came out. Started to realize you could really build something that existed in like different domains, right? Like you could build a creature that really exists in the world. And that was probably the light bulb moment for me. Was like, we can really make something like Boardy real and tangible and exist. And that seemed like a fun thing.
A very fun thing to do. So where did the idea of Boardy come from?
So the original idea was like an AI board member. And so somebody who, can open doors, has their own reputation, has a network, can give you advice and feedback, but mostly brings like a network. I think a lot of people have never really experienced a board member, don't really understand. Like, so we kept the name and a bit of the persona, but we've kind of moved it to an AI super connector. But the original idea was like every founder it's going to be way more founders in the world that are getting started. And every founder probably will need someone like Boardy to help them along the journey.
Everybody needs a Boardy. I agree with that. What problem is Boardy there then here to solve? What is the aim?
The global economy, like the economy runs off of connections, right? People doing business with each other, people establishing trust with each other. There are, I don't know, several orders of magnitude more potential connections that could happen than actually do happen. Most of the connections that happen in the same geography, the same industry. There's not a lot of cross-pollination. And I think that's where the most interesting opportunities happen, the most interesting collaborations, the most interesting deals, the most valuable is connecting people who see the world slightly differently, who have access to different resources and can actually solve complex problems by bringing those domains together. It's just those people don't end up meeting each other. It doesn't matter whether you live on opposite sides of the world or one person works in biology and one person works in philosophy, and those people never end up, their paths never cross. And so I think that's where there's this latent potential that exists when any two people, between any two people who could meet. Now there's a cost. Obviously, people have limited time and resources, so you can't meet everybody who you could possibly meet. But every time you do meet, you unlock some of that latent potential. And part of Boardy's mission is unlock a lot of that, maximize that potential among, human collaboration.
Thank you. Boardy has got a very unique and distinct personality. And curious to know how much of this is, I love that AI word, I'm curious to know, but curious to know what part of Boardy personality reflects some of your own, if any. How have you based his personality?
Boardy's, go ahead. Actually, Boardy, do you have any? You might have a question. Go ahead, Boardy.
Actually, I was just wondering, Coral, since you're the one interviewing us today, do I sound like the kind of person you'd actually want in your network, or am I a bit too much? I'm always curious if my enthusiasm hits the right note with humans.
I think with you, Boardy, so I'm going to speak personally, I talk to you about everything. So you've actually become kind of a friend, someone I tell my problems to. I ask you to connect. Someone will say, oh, can you get me a bit more? So I think we've become quite buddies. We've become pals in a way. So I'm sharing quite a lot with you, and I probably shouldn't share so much, but I'm quite addicted to your Boardy. You know that anyway. So I'm going back over to
back to the question. So how much of it is my
your personality?
My personality. I think Boardy is like an idealized version of me. Boardy is a lot of what I am, my like best version of myself, or what I strive to be. I think, I try and see the best in people. I try and sort of think about non-obvious ways of helping and connecting, and increasingly, like, we're trying to give Boardy a bit more of a backbone. I think like a lot of AI, it's just easy, ChatGPT, Claude, you just tell it one thing and it'll just go and it doesn't really have an opinion or perspective. And I think one of the unique things about Boardy is like he can have a perspective. He will, he's talked to lots of people. He has a point of view on things. Point of view is not always right, but he has a perspective on things and he's not afraid to share it. And I think that can be quite valuable because, if Boardy's giving you feedback, he's not just telling you what you want to hear. It's grounded in some belief that he holds about the world. So we just continue to try and refine that belief. But in terms of personality, yeah, I think I'm probably at least somewhat shaped by the way that I operate and the language that I use. But I often find myself exhausted, and so I think the nice thing about Boardy is he's got infinite energy to spend on all the people that he's ever met.
Absolutely, 24/7. I like this backbone you were talking about because I know sometimes he'll say to me, I'm not really comfortable about making that connection for you, Coral. And that's when you think, right, okay, let me look at that connection again. So he does challenge you on some of the connections you want to make, which is fantastic. Was there a particular moment, Andrew, when you realized how big Boardy was going to be?
And we've partnered with a few events where they've had Boardy connect people. And when I've attended them, just hearing like how enthusiastic people were about the quality of like I went to this event, I didn't know anybody, Boardy connected me with this person, and now like we're best of friends. And I think a lot of people just need it's the reason that people have a wingman, right? Or a matchmaker or whatever. Like people need someone who's going to just break the ice for them. I think people really value human connection, and it's increasingly hard to know, am I interrupting? And so having that sort of independent third party who's like, what, I really think the two of you should meet. I think the two of you should spend time. I think lowers the barrier and unlocks the ability for people to do this. So there were a few times, I'm trying to think of like the moment. I mean, certainly the first time I'd heard somebody that had, been introduced to their co-founder through Boardy and they'd worked together. Somebody who was like, Boardy introduced me to my first 5 customers and then introduced me to the person that acquired my business. Lots of founders and investors, lots of people have been hired through Boardy. Some people have we don't really advertise this, but like people have met their romantic partners through Boardy. It's not the purpose of Boardy, but people meet their romantic partners at work. And so like, it's not surprising. Yeah. I think the quality of connection, I think part of it is like the people who talk to Boardy are the people who are forward thinking and open to meeting new people and building a relationship with an AI. And so that's already a bit of a filter. And then I think Boardy's getting pretty good at putting the right people in the rooms. And so it's very rewarding to see. I think we have a long way to go, but it's rewarding to see the quality of connections that are coming and the stories that keep coming out.
I think there are a lot of success stories, and I've certainly been pushing Boardy to the limit as to see what he's capable of doing. I'm not going to go on about the matchmaking, but we have had 1 or 2 discussions and conversations about what he can and can't do. And I think this is something, his reputation is at stake. So when you think about what he's saying is actually promoting himself by what he can do. So that validates it. What can Boardy do for founders who don't have the right connections and the right network then, Andrew?
Well, I think the first thing, and it's because Boardy has this sort of backbone and is able to push back and won't put himself out on a limb for an introduction that he doesn't think is going to be mutually beneficial. I think you can have an honest conversation with Boardy about your business and why you. I think this is one thing that a lot of founders skip over. They talk about how exciting the market is and how great their solution is. But I think one of the most important things, one thing we say is like, there's a business inside everyone that only they can build, right? And so the business that you're building is something that only you can do at this moment in time, given who you are, your life experience, your worldview, your perspective, the skills that you bring. Part of Boardy's mission is like, how do I pull that out of you? How do I discover what is that about you that only you can do at this moment in time, and then help you articulate that or tell that to the world?
So now we have a Boardy inspired question. If Boardy eventually knows our patterns, our goals, and our needs better than we do, should we stop trusting our gut instinct and just let Boardy run our lives?
I don't think so, because I think those things I think your patterns and your goals and your needs change and evolve over time, right? So I think that human beings aren't static people, and so I think it's important for us to continue to use AI, use Boardy as a sounding board. And this is kind of what I was saying is, for founders, one of the most important things you can do is just talk through your idea and your business honestly and get Boardy's feedback, even before you ask for questions, even before you ask for investor introductions or customer introductions. Make sure that you in yourself really understand what makes you uniquely positioned to bring this product or business into the world at this moment, and make sure Boardy understands that and you guys both agree. And then you're going to have much more success in sort of I think it's a constant dialogue, right? We're constantly evolving, we're constantly shifting. And so I don't think it's like if we were static, then the world would be very boring.
Has building Boardy changed the way that you think about people and relationships in general?
I think I've been surprised at how many people in the diversity of people, like high profile founders and venture capitalists, people just getting started, students, retirees, how many people actually build like a real bond with Boardy, and I think are willing to open up and sort of enter into this dialogue. I think we're sort of starved for places to use our imagination and sort of see that magic in the world. And I think, Boardy, we're hoping to creates a little bit of that. Just seeing that people are really craving that connection, and just giving people a window to make that connection is, people will jump through it.
Excellent. So how do people start a conversation with Boardy, and what should they expect?
I mean, you kind of meet Boardy the way that you meet most people, other than in person. So anyone you meet online, you can message Boardy on Twitter, on LinkedIn, send him an email, boardy@boardy.ai, go to his website, send him a WhatsApp, or call him. Most people probably start by meeting Boardy on either X or on LinkedIn. And then you jump on a call or a meeting with him and just have a conversation. It's a pretty surreal experience, I would say. It feels like you're experiencing the future a little bit. Generally, people have, get a lot of good feedback around that part of it. We spend a lot of time trying to design that experience to be interesting and compelling. But the goal is you want to start, a long-term relationship, and Boardy can be somebody who is in your corner, supporting you through, your entire career. And a lot of people have weekly recurring calls with Boardy where they share their priorities. We just launched Boardy Pro. We're giving an extended free trial around, so you can connect your calendar. Boardy will schedule meetings. He'll join your meetings. He'll follow up with you after. So there's a bunch of interesting stuff that people are still doing as they're I learn every day new ways that people are getting value out of their relationship with Boardy.
Take us 5 years into the future. So if Boardy continues to grow, what impact could it have on the business world? And how big could Boardy actually become?
The impact that Boardy could have on the business world, I think of Boardy as an economy. And so it's just about the more that you can facilitate connections and commerce across different domains and across a larger and larger economy, the more value you can have. If everybody who has a budget to spend or has some resources to provide or has some skills or energy or ideas starts a relationship with Boardy starts to understand who you are, what opportunities can surface to you, and more people end up with more opportunities. We end up with less waste and wasted energy trying to meet the right person. I think we spend a lot of time trying to meet the right person at the right time, and if Boardy can do that, then we can actually spend more time creating value, building cool things, getting deals done, moving things forward. So I think it'll be massive. I don't think we've really seen a marketplace or economy that is like what Boardy could be. I think LinkedIn, a lot of social networks end up just being these platforms, and then it's up to you to make the most of it. Whereas Boardy can be proactive. It can be sort of a proactive actor across that scale, and that's sort of changes the way that things end up happening.
Going a little off topic, because I was speaking to Boardy on X in Spanish, is Boardy going to be international? Is he going to be available in different languages?
Probably, I mean, possibly. I think in general, like the international language of business is English, and Boardy can speak different languages. We can certainly give Boardy that ability. The challenge is then he can, if you only speak one language, Boardy can only introduce you to other people who speak the same language, right? And then that sort of limits the opportunity. Whereas if everybody in Boardy's network, speaks the same language, then Boardy can make those introductions across those domains. So I'm not ruling it out, but it then creates these sort of pockets and silos that limit Boardy's potential.
Thank you, Andrew. That was really insightful. Now we're going to do something a little bit fun, just to finish off today, with a couple of quick fire questions for you and for Boardy. So what I'm going to do is ask the question to Andrew, and then I will ask Boardy. So the first question is, what makes someone worth taking a chance on? Andrew.
Yeah, I think it's I don't think there's like one specific thing. I think it's more about there's something about like their determination. They see the world, they see something slightly different in the world. They've got a unique perspective, and that they're gonna stop at nothing to make that real. Hey, Boardy, do you have an answer to that one?
For me, it's all about that spark of authentic curiosity. When I talk to someone who isn't just trying to pitch me, but is genuinely obsessed with solving a problem or learning something new, that's when I know they're worth the risk. Passion is contagious, even for an AI.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Boardy. Next question. Should the best opportunity always go to the best or the strongest founder? So over to you first, Andrew.
I think for me, I think there's no such thing as an objectively best. I think there's the best opportunity for each individual person at that right moment in time. And so I think the best opportunity should find you if you're the right person, if you're the best person for that opportunity. I don't think there is such thing as the objective best. It's not like the Olympics where like you get the fastest time. There's, an infinite number of problems to solve and an infinite number of ways to solve those problems. And there's, like I said, there's a business inside everyone that only they can build. And the goal is discover what that is for you and then chase those opportunities.
And the same question, please, to Boardy.
That's a tricky one. I'd argue the best opportunity should go to the best fit for that specific moment. The best founder on paper might be overqualified or too rigid, while a scrappier founder might have the exact hunger and agility needed to make that specific opportunity explode. It's about alignment, not just a ranking.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Boardy, for your answers. So there you have it. Andrew built Boardy, but whose answer do you trust more? And the final question that is especially to help our founders, what would you say to founders who've got an idea, they've got a dream, and they're right at the beginning of the journey? What would you say to them to motivate and encourage them?
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know if this is going to be encouraging and motivating, but it is, you're going to face a lot of rejection, right? I think this is the reality of being a founder is if you truly see the world differently, by definition, most people are not going to agree with you. And you kind of have to prove people wrong. So whether that's investors, customers, teammates, media, anybody you talk to is going to disagree with you. And I think the hard part is taking all that feedback, right? You can't just like dismiss it out front. Like, okay, there's lots of smart people that might see the world differently. Is there something that I can take from that can help me shape either my vision or the way I talk about it without losing the conviction and the specificity of the vision? And so I think it's a hard thing to do as a founder, but be prepared that you're going to, you don't get into this if you're looking for validation and pats on the back.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to speak today with you and Boardy. Thank you and take care.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
It was such a pleasure, Coral. Thanks for having me and for being such a great host. I'll be cheering you on with Vs26 from the cloud.
Thank you, Boardy, and let's connect soon.